Robin Goodman, and it's an honor to be receiving this award with you, Robin. Theater is another passion of my life, and I think we understand the power of the creative mind and talents to give us not just comfort and inspiration, passion, and creative energy, which is what I hope we accomplish in a religious setting, what you've managed to accomplish in the theater, which is so important to so many of us. So thank you very much for all the work you do. I want to first, and without any other moments, thank the love of my life, Maggie Amours-Wenning, who's here tonight, with our daughter, Molly, who many of you have known for many, many years. And I'd like to thank also, this honor really I take very seriously, and in a moment, in fact, in about 5 or 6 minutes, I'll tell you more. But before I get there, I really want to thank the people with whom I work so closely day in, day out. I want to ask the board of CBST to stand, and I know it's dark, but I'd like to ask all the board members of CBST to stand. I'd like to ask all the staff members of CBST to stand who are here tonight. And I'd like to ask all the CBST members who are here tonight to stand. And I'd like to ask those who have come to High Holiday services but have not yet joined to stand. Steve, will you notice who they are? On my first day at CBST in August of 1992, Irving Cooperberg of beloved memory met me at the door with his partner, Lou Rittmaster. They welcomed me into the sanctuary at Bethune Street, walked me up to the bima, and they made me stand between them, facing the empty seats of the congregation. And Irving said to me, "There will be many, many, many days where you will be extremely frustrated. Gay people are impossible to deal with. Jews are impossible to deal with. New Yorkers are impossible to deal with. You put that together, we are now giving you the most difficult community in the world to lead." He said to me, with Lou, he said to me, "But whatever happens, remember it's all about the people who are sitting in those seats. The real three-dimensional people, the lives we live, the passions we have, the dreams we embody. That's what it's all about." He then took me before we did anything else, and he said, "I'm going to take you to the next most important institution in New York City." And he walked me over to 13th Street to the LGBT Center. Before I did anything else, introduced me to Richard Burns. And he said, "You two are my best hires. And I, who don't have any children and will not have any children of my own, I see the two of you as carrying on all the work that I believe in." Irving, only a few years earlier, as only some people in this room will remember, when the building on 13th Street became available from the city, it was Irving Cooperberg who organized the donations to make it possible to buy that building before the city gave it up and took the offer off the table. Irving Cooperberg, CBST's former chair and one of my personal mentors, along with Marcy Khan, Judge Marcy Khan, who I know is here tonight, were the first leaders of the LGBT Center. And in a few days, Irving had raised the money to make the deposit on the building on 13th Street. And he did it when everybody said the community couldn't raise that kind of money. And he did it because he said to me he had one principle by which he lived. And I try every single day to embody that principle. He quoted from the Mishnah, "Al tifrosh min hatzibur." Don't separate yourself from the community. He said to me, what gay people have not understood is that our lives are going to be strengthened by community, not just by personal satisfaction and by our personal lives being happy. We have to be part of a community. We can argue, we can debate, we can scream, we can holler, but don't turn your back on community. Irving embodied community in everything he did. And it's really in his memory that I think that much of the work I do every day gets the energy, and I feel like I'm carrying Irving's spirit with me. I pray every day that he remains proud of me wherever he is. The day he died, I crawled into bed with him, and I just started reciting Psalms as the breath was leaving his body. And I just said to him, Irving, please pray for us wherever you're going. Pray for me in the work that I'm going to be doing. And I will never forget the community. The Gay and Lesbian Community Center and CBST have this long and deep and profound connection one to the other. And that connection continues, and I'm very, very, very proud of it. Irving didn't want CBST to be located at the community center, however. He felt there needed to be some separation. And an example of this, and I share this as I close my remarks, that's the 5-minute mark, okay? This past August 2nd, a masked gunman entered a gay and lesbian community center in Tel Aviv, in which a support group for children, for 13 to 18-year-old GLBT folks was taking place. There were 14 people in that community center having this support group. The masked gunman clearly had military training, and he targeted every single person in the room. 2 ran out of the room. He killed 2, and everybody else was wounded. One 16-year-old girl was hiding behind a couch, and he kicked aside the couch, and at deadly force, in close proximity, he killed her. The wounds, by and large, were aimed at the groin area. He escaped into the city life of Tel Aviv on a Saturday night, and nobody has been able to catch him. The next day, we started to organize a vigil. We did it not alone, but we did it with the GLBT Center to create a sense that our broader, not just the Jewish community, was mourning this tragedy. This is the first time in history that we know of that violence, anti-gay violence, has taken place in a gay community center. CBST, with the Gay Center, organized a vigil at which the heads of major Jewish organizations, the heads of many of the gay organizations, but most importantly, the youth from the YES program, the Youth Enrichment Services program, and the Youth Pride Chorus came to this vigil. Kids that the center has been supporting since its beginning. These kids, the counselors later told us, most of them didn't even know where Israel was. But they know about violence because of the violence they experience every day on the streets, and many of them in their homes. And the counselors, under the fantastic direction of Jenny DeBauer, who directs the Youth Enrichment Services at the center, the counselors later told me that all of the kids who chose to come to the vigil were the kids who had experienced the most extreme violence in their own lives. And through our connection, these kids were able to take what they knew about violence, come to the CBST Gay Community Center vigil. It was fabulous. The Youth Pride Chorus is a gem in the center. The kids sang that Cyndi Lauper song, True Colors. It was with the wonderful keyboardist. They sang we were all just sobbing. Let your true colors show. These kids were teaching us. And one of the young men from the community center, I had spoken to them before about whether the kids wanted to speak. The counselors weren't sure whether they would be comfortable doing that. During the vigil, one of the boys, Michael Rivera, came up to me and he said, "Rabbi, can I speak?" He came up to the podium and he gave, and all the Yes kids were surrounding him, he gave a deeply moving talk in his own language, in his own words, about what he experienced as a young gay man on the streets of New York and his sense of connection to these kids in Tel Aviv who were at that moment wounded or funerals were happening that day. We then organized with CBST and the Gay and Lesbian Community Center Thanks to Mario Palumbo on the Centers Board and Hamie Curiel on the CBST and the Centers Board. We're happy to share him with you, but you should know we're sharing him. We brought to New York for Yom Kippur in a week, and this was at the last minute, 8 LGBT kids from Israel as a delegation to show them that there's a broader community who cares about violence against young GLBT people. And they spent that week under Jenny DeBauer's staff's supervision, working with the Yes Kids. The Yes Kids taught them how to Vogue. They taught them all the dirtiest words in Hebrew and Arabic. It was a great cultural exchange. These kids are still very close. They Facebook each other all the time, if I've used that verb correctly. And this is another example of our working together. These youth are our future. We sit at these tables. We've paid a lot of money to be here. We feel like we've done a lot to accomplish the world in which we live, and we have. But notice what happened last week in Maine, and this coming week in New York is unsure. But every day there's violence against young people. We have an obligation both to the children of our families and to the children of the LGBT community. And I want to read you some words from a letter from an 18-year-old gay kid in Israel to Hamie. And Hamie, I apologize, but I'll leave out anything that identifies him. Today is a month after I came back to Israel after the Mishlachat, the delegation. And it is amazing how I am still full of subjects to think about from New York. This was the first time I've ever been outside of Israel. I'm especially grateful meeting everyone, especially you, Hamie. It was a huge experience for me. I've never met gay adults in my life, especially not those whose world is bigger than I think before and that life can go in a lot of ways, not only those I imagined. Meeting you give me the hope that I can find a place where I can feel comfortable and make my dreams come true. And that's what we are about here, making sure that dreams can come true for the young GLBT people of the world, here in Israel, in France, in Saudi Arabia, in Latin America, in Africa. We have a commitment as the adults in a community which is now blessed with many things. And we just remember Irving's words always. Don't separate yourself from the community. Glenda, I'm delighted on behalf of CBST to welcome you to the LGBT community leadership in New York City. And let us never forget our responsibilities, and let us never forget our blessings. Shabbat Shalom.